Today is a day where we honor the brave men and women of our nation, people who have sacrificed themselves to better our country by going out and protecting us. These people fight so we have the freedom to vote, speak, dream, and enjoy life. We would like to honor the men and women who have in the past served or who is still serving, and anyone who plans on serving our country. Will you please rise for the presentation of the colors? Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in remaining silence. Thank you. Now, please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. It is my privilege to introduce our speaker for this morning, Mr. Mealy.
Thank you, Jared. Before I begin, I would like to ask that all veterans or current servicemen and women please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Wes-Del Student Council, thank you for the invitation and opportunity to address the students, the staff, the community, and most importantly, the veterans in attendance today. I'm honored to address all of you on what I feel is one of the most significant days of the year for Americans. Veterans Day gives us a chance to honor and thank those men and women who pressed the pause button on life to fight for peace and freedom. Today we honor the military servicemen and women who served or are currently serving our country during times of conflict and times of peace. Veterans Day began as Armistice Day, a day of remembrance at the end of World War I, was to be observed on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month each year. Since the end of World War I, which was considered the war to end all wars, Americans have fought and died in many more wars and conflicts in the continued pursuit of peace and to protect freedom. Americans have fought all over the world, in Europe, the Pacific, Korea, the jungles of Vietnam, and throughout the Middle East. Millions of Americans have served, most of whom were not much older than the students seated in the gymnasium today. When I look across at our veterans today, nothing in my imagination could come close to what they've experienced in their own life. With each passing year, each passing generation, and each passing Veterans Day, I grow concerned that our understanding and appreciation of our veterans' sacrifice may be fading. I fear that as we become accustomed to a life of ease, comfort, and entitlement, that we may forget how it is we get to live so free. I am also concerned that with the prevalent and pervasive use of social media and mass media, that the young generations of today may be receiving a message of division rather than unity. The message being transmitted today is that of a divided country, in which a label or title like Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, matters more than the title of American. I am all too aware of this message, and as a father of two young children, I grow concerned that the divided America that plays out on the screens before my children is the new norm. So how do we combat this skewed message? How do we find the signal among all the noise? Where does our young generation look for role models and heroes? The answer is right before us today: our veterans. Our veterans, the men and women who dropped everything to defend our flag, our country, and our way of life. Our veterans who travel across the world to fight dictators and oppressive regimes in relentless battle for peace. Our veterans who, when the bullets fly and the cannons fire, are not concerned with who is a Republican or Democrat, but instead refer to their fellow soldiers as American brothers and sisters. Our current active service veterans who stand guard at the door so we can sleep safely each night. Our current veterans who are stationed all over the world, keeping the peace so that you and I can live each and every day as free Americans. These are the role models we can look to. These are the heroes of America. We live in a time when the word hero is placed so easily on those who do so little. A hero is defined as a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. The veterans among us today embody the definition of a hero. Yet today, our society places the label of hero on the highly talented athlete who kneels over the wounded veteran who stands. Ross Andrew McGinnis is a true hero, and his story starts much like any of you sitting in the bleachers today. Ross was born June 14, 1987, in Meadville, Pennsylvania. His family moved to the small town of Knox, just northeast of Pittsburgh, when he was 3. There he attended Clarion County Public Schools, where he was a Boy Scout and played baseball and basketball in high school. Ross was a 2005 graduate of Keystone Senior High School, a school very similar to Wes-Del. His mother said Ross wanted to be a soldier early in life. When he was in kindergarten, he was asked to draw a picture of what he wanted to be when he grew up. Ross drew a picture of a soldier. On his 17th birthday, June 14, 2004, Ross went to the Army recruiting station and joined through the delayed entry program. After initial entry training at Fort Benning, McGinnis was assigned to 1st Battalion, 26th Infantry. His unit deployed to eastern Baghdad in August 2006, where violence was extremely rampant. Ross was serving as an M2 50 caliber machine gunner in the 1st Platoon, C Company, in support of operations against insurgents in Iraq. According to the official report, on the afternoon of December 4th, 2006, McGinnis' platoon was on mounted patrol in an effort to restrict enemy movement and quell violence. During the course of the patrol, an unidentified insurgent positioned on a rooftop near there threw a frag grenade into the Humvee. Without hesitation or regard for his own life, McGinnis threw his back over the grenade, pinning it between his body and the Humvee's radio mount. McGinnis absorbed all lethal fragments and the concussive effects of the grenade with his own body. His actions saved the life of 4 of his fellow soldiers in the Humvee that day. McGinnis was awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions, and upon accepting the award, his mother stated the following: "Ross did not become our hero by dying to save his fellow soldiers from a grenade. He was our hero long before he died. He was willing to risk his life to protect the ideals of freedom and justice that America represents. He has been recommended for the Medal of Honor. That is not why he gave his life. The lives of 4 men who were his Army brothers outweighed the value of his own life." Ross McGinnis was 19 years old when he was killed. His story of heroism is just one of the many you will find if you take the time to look. But you won't find Ross's stories on the front page news or in your social media feed. These stories of valor take a back seat to the talking heads, the politicians, the celebrities, and the high-paid athletes. Today we think it's courageous to speak out, to stand against, and to protest the values and beliefs that are the foundation of America. How ironic is it that the power to speak, act, or think as one once is the definition of freedom, and that it was given to us by our veterans, our heroes, like Ross McGinnis. As an American, I do not fear foreign enemy. I fear a domestic division. A divided America is a weak America, and that energizes our enemies. We must regain our patriotism. We must look to the example given to us by our veterans. In our veterans lies the framework for true patriotism, the framework of the United States of America. This idea of unity comes from the collaborative pursuit of liberty. As Americans, we have the right to debate and disagree, but to protect that right, we must always be willing to defend our country as one united front. When our way of life is threatened, we must come together, and if the time comes and we are called to serve, let us answer the call as the veterans who have come before us. And as President Kennedy said, "Let every nation know whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and the success of liberty." We cannot repay our veterans for their service and sacrifice, and as I've mentioned before, we can't even imagine what they've experienced. It is hard for a young person today to understand what price was paid for our freedom. Some may gain an understanding if they visit the Arlington National Cemetery and see the endless headstones of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Perhaps some of you will have a similar experience I had as a young 8th grader, when I witnessed the rolling tears of a grown man as he touched the name on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. These moments of raw emotion come from men and women who have stood and faced pure evil. They have fought for each of us in the hope that the next generation would not have to face the same evil. Although we cannot repay our veterans, we can live a life of appreciation for what we have been given as Americans. We can live a life where we respect our veterans, the flag, and the country. We can throw differences aside and unite under the common theme of patriotism. We can take time to stop finding the negative and focus on the positive. It's far time we realize that we have it better than any other country in the world, and that we are unapologetically proud to be Americans. We were given this right by the men and women who we call veterans. The men and women who can turn to us, look us in the eyes and say, "I fought for you." Let us never forget our veterans. Let us never allow the understanding and appreciation for our veterans' service and sacrifice fade. I challenge each of us here today to think of our veterans more often than just one day in November. Each time we stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance or the playing of the national anthem, let each of us remember the service, the sacrifice, as well as the opportunity given to us as Americans by our veterans. Each American today owes a debt to our veterans which cannot be repaid. What we can do is embrace the values and beliefs that men and women fought, bled, and died to protect. Don't be confused. These values and beliefs do not come from the words or actions of athletes, celebrities, politicians, musicians, activists, or the loudest person in the room. These core values and beliefs are simplified in the Declaration of Independence, and they are as follows. We hold these truths to be sacred and undeniable. that all men are created equal and independent, and from the equal creation they derive rights inherent and inalienable, among which are the preservation of life, in liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As we leave here today, don't take for granted the freedom which has been given to us by the sacrifice and service of our veterans. When given the chance, thank a veteran and show them the appreciation they deserve. Let us assure the veterans who have served that what they have fought and died to protect is alive and well. Let us assure the world that we are united as Americans. To all the veterans in attendance and those around the world today, thank you. We are forever grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Where eagles soar is meant to represent a state of mind that occurs when one realizes their full potential. The military is a great example of fulfilling these potentials found in all of us, as well as using them for the improvement of the lives of others. Also, the bald eagle is a direct representation of our great country and the freedom we have because of our veterans. We hope you experience this performance with a personal connection to the freedom and full potential of us all.
generations have been granted the role of defending freedom in its hour of maximum danger. I do not shrink from this responsibility. I welcome it. I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. My fellow citizens of the world, ask not what America will do for you, but what together we can do for the freedom of man.
Veterans Day poem by Holly Ruby. Veterans Day will come and go quicker than the blink of an eye, but memories of heroes, present and past, will never, ever die. The youth of today, do you understand the price brave men did pay to preserve the freedom we enjoy each and every day? They were called to duty, and so they went, not knowing what was to be. Many came home, some never did. They sacrificed so we could be free. How lonely some must have felt, how scared some had to be. They paid the bill with their own blood. What a great cost to be free. The heroes of our country are the ones who paved the way for the freedom and the many rights that we enjoy every day. Next time, young folks, you pass someone who may be old and gray, remember, thanks to him or her, you have your freedom today. They may just funny, not see as well, walk a little slow, but they were young when duty called, and off to war did they go. Brave men today are still at war. How scared some must be. How lonely some must feel inside, paying the price to be free. You may dress funny, not hear as well, drive your cars too fast, but remembers all those great brave men of present and of past. So when you're called to duty, not knowing what is to come, remember all those men before you who fought for your freedom. Support our president, support our troops, support our country too, as they go fighting for what is right. For freedom, the price is due.
And now, As the band plays each branch's armed forces, please stand if either you, your family member, or a friend have served past or present for the United States of America. When you hear your branch played, and remain standing. Thank you all for your service. You may be seated. Warrior Nation students and staff would also like to recognize the following service men and women. Please stand if we call your name or if you recognize this serviceman or woman. Torpedo Man, 2nd Class Submarines, Corey Lockridge, United States Navy. Specialist 4th Class, Steve Kurtz, United States Army. Lance Corporal Eric Bushkirk, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Gavin Forrester, United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Clarence Branch, United States Marine Force, World War II veteran. Joe Ricalto, United States Army. Kevin Brown, United States Navy. Pete Ricalto, United States Navy. SPF 1 Private Adrian Black, United States Army. Raymond Gorman, United States Army, World War II veteran. John Schenk, United States Air Force. ARM Second Class Robert V. Miller, United States Navy and World War II veteran. Chris Duffer, United States Air Force. Flight Nurse Michael McLean, United States Air Force. Curtis Buchanan, United States Navy. Tech Sergeant Herbert L. Denny, United States Army. Johnny D. Frazier, United States Army. Lance Corporal James Jump, United States Marines. Boatsman's Mate Carl Strauss, United States Navy. Petty Officer Robert Lair, United States Navy. Orville Lees Olds, United States Army, World War II veteran. Commander Nicholas Petit, United States Navy. Infantryman Jared Nicholson, United States Army. Airman Matt Nicholson, United States Navy. Airman Rebecca Nicholson, United States Navy.
Marcus Buckmaster, Specialist, U.S. Army. Matthew Buckmaster, Specialist, U.S. Army. Chief Petty Officer Jason Buckmaster, Hull Technician, Surface Warfare Specialist, U.S. Navy. Michael Buckmaster, United States National Guard. E. Wright Buckmaster, U.S. Army Air Corps. All Source of Technical Intelligence Analyst, Raven Buckmaster Morgan, U.S. Army. Hospital Horseman Harley Buckmaster, U.S. Navy. First Lieutenant Terry Windsor, U.S. Army. Captain Tom, Sergeant Joseph Retner, U.S. Army, Vietnam veteran. Sergeant Major Robert Retner, U.S. Army, Korean War and Vietnam War veteran. George Lower Retner, U.S. Army. Ancestors, very short list, just Thomas Ward, Colonial Army, American Revolutionary War veteran. Captain Jonathan Robertson, Colonial Army, American Revolutionary War veteran. Lance Corporal Shane Olson, U.S. Marines. Sergeant First Class Edward Candelario, United States Army. On behalf of this school and community, thank you for your service. Now please stand for the retrieval of the colors. You may be seated.
And now I'd like to welcome Mr. Perdue for our closing remarks.
standing, one more time, would you help me thank our veterans for their service and sacrifice? You may be seated. I'd also like to thank our high school student council members and our sponsors, Ms. Lair and Ms. Stanley, for organizing today's convocation, as well as to our superintendent, Mr. Mealy, for being our keynote speaker. Didn't they do a wonderful job today? Also, a special thank you to Mr. Driscoll and our Warrior Band members for doing what you do best, an awesome job to all of our students and to all of our staff. And we appreciate you and thank everyone for attending today. Please drive home safely to all our veterans and folks that come from our community. Our middle school students, we're going to be heading to third period, I believe. So middle school students, you may be dismissed. Ms. Lair and Ms. Stanley students, will you make sure you please remain in the gym? Our veterans and community members, you are dismissed as well. Thank you.